Thank you, Tiana, for sharing your story. My first question is directed to young Jianli. After your friend was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize last year, how has that affected the struggle for human rights and democracy in China?
Yep. Okay. I don't need a microphone. I just keep forgetting that. Of course, the word of Nobel Peace Prize to Liu Xiaobo is a great inspiration to many human rights activists and democracy activists. This represents the international recognition of Chinese democracy movement, their struggle, their sacrifices in the past 30 years. And of course, the Chinese government become more nervous, paranoid of losing their power. So ever since announcement was made, they has tightened up control over the supporters and the family members of Liu Xiaobo. As I said earlier today, Liu Xiaobo has not been heard from ever since. Liu Xia, just 10 days after announcement, about 10 days, let me think about it. Yeah, 12 days after announcement was made, we have lost the contact with her. She has not been heard from. But we conduct a thorough study on the impact of the Nobel Peace Prize on the Chinese people and activists. And we found that the impact is great. And we, according to the visit to the website for the sensitive word Liu Xiaobo and Nobel Peace Prize, we found that Chinese people pay more attention to this event than any other event except the Sichuan earthquake that took place in May of 2008. So Chinese people really want to know what's going on, and this award actually helped spread out the news, the information, and as a result, more people are more forthcoming for the information, for the ideas of human rights. And it also helped spread of Charter 08, which Liu Xiaobo helped draft. So I think over a long run, this is a very positive event. Will have a ripple effect in the future.
Thank you. We have heard testimonies from all around the globe about how authoritarian regimes are acting increasingly nervous because of the revolutions in North Africa and the protests in the Middle East. Have you experienced something similar in China? Do you sense a sort of jitteriness or nervousness from the regime when it comes to human rights struggle? Tiana?
Tiana, no question?
What?
The question is directed to her?
Yeah, no, it's directed to the entire panel. But
entire panel, okay.
Well, I think Dr. Yang might be the more appropriate person to comment on this.
All right.
So I want to talk more about it. It all began from Oslo. And before Oslo Nobel Peace Prize ceremony, the violinist Lin Chan, who also lives in Boston, who called me and planned for a dinner. During the dinner, he told me he will play a very popular music in China. That is jasmine flower. And the music resonated with many participants at the ceremony. And at that moment, many of us actually cried with tears running down our faces. And ever since then, jasmine flower, the 3 words, 茉莉花, has become a sensitive word and blocked by the Chinese government on internet. Within a month, democratic revolution took place in Tunisia, and the jasmine flower is the national flower of Tunisia. Then everybody come to name the democratic revolution in Tunisia and Egypt a jasmine revolution. And the Chinese people got inspired by the democratic changes in North Africa and became their own version of a jasmine revolution. So they called the revolution on internet on the 20th of February. In 13 cities in China, many people just took to street. But the Chinese government got even more nervous. They sent more police, than the workers in some city. And I think this is a groundbreaking activity because ever since the Tiananmen Square massacre, the people don't think it is possible to take to street to protest. And at the same time, the Chinese government developed a very, very massive, big-scale, so-called stability-preserving system. Now, this year's budget, the Chinese government admitted, it has just surpassed the military budget. That means the Chinese government take the people as enemy more seriously, take people as an enemy more seriously than any other foreigners can pose a threat to China. And still, I think this shows China's political, economic, and social condition has come to almost to the critical point that if there is a flashpoint, the issue, important event, the Chinese people can take to street anytime. The big protest will press the Chinese government to change. They got no way. So, of course, we all know the Chinese government is still powerful, still strong enough to put anybody in prison, to make anybody disappear if they are determined to do so. But I think sooner or later, nobody can prevent the jasmine revolution from happening in China. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm afraid we're running out of time. I have one...
I use much all the time.
No, that's okay. Young Jianli had a 40-minute speech prepared, so he's trying to compensate, right? My last question is, those of us who work within the civil society in Western democracies, what can we do? What works? What doesn't work? Just a short answer.
Well, I think that conferences such as these and wherever there's a focus on human rights, it's always our responsibility, our duty to remind governments, to remind big organizations that there are many, many problems that are not going to go away and need to be addressed. So, for example, the very specific cases that I mentioned, the political prisoners, there are always lots of campaigning and lobbying efforts that can be done. And there are also many ongoing campaigns that can be supported. For example, Tibet, Lhasa, is one of the few places in the world where there are no foreign correspondents stationed, for example. It's one place in the world where there are no representatives of foreign countries, for example. All of these things can be changed. There can be foreign correspondents stationed there. There can be representatives, consulates stationed there. The more we need to monitor the situation more and more in order to know exactly what kind of things we can do. And in order to do that, we need to really be hearing from the voices of people on the ground.
他是问这个中国的这个公民社会成长。
I think in the Eastern Turkestan, in the human rights, in the problem of human rights, there are a lot we can do. Many of them you have mentioned already. Why don't you say something?
In the cases of political prisoners in particular, we often hear American diplomats addressing the issue at large. But I think one thing that's very, very helpful is when they target their addresses by mentioning specific names. By saying something very broad like human rights have to be addressed in China, we can't really measure the outcomes of that. But if they ask for the release of specific prisoners like my father or the countless other ones, then we can sort of have some sort of gauge of what's effective and what's not.
All right. Do we have time for questions from the audience? One or two short questions? No one? All right. Well, thank you for sharing your stories with us today, and thank you very much. Thank
you. Hello. Before we close the conference, I would like to ask all of the co-organizers to come up to the stage, all the co-organizers. And also, I would like all the staff and the volunteers to come up as well. And the speakers, all the speakers, I'm sorry. Speakers from today, come up to the stage. Okay. Could we stand? Yeah.
We're going to move the table.
So co-organizers, speakers from today, all staff and volunteers, please come up to the stage. Please come up to the stage. Okay, we'll come up with speakers, organizers, staff members, and volunteers. Please come up to the stage. Yeah, okay. So we have a little mission to complete, okay? So we on behalf of Initiatives for China and all other co-sponsors, I want to express our thanks to Ariel for her superb work in making this summit such a wonderful success. Thank you very much, Ariel. Thank you. Our thanks also go to Hillel and other staff members and all the volunteers. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Also, thank you to the interpreters.
Thank you, interpreters, and everyone who helped this conference a successful event. Thank you very much. This concludes 2011 Geneva Summit on Human Rights and Democracy. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
ننتهز كل الفرص. والله تعال 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 انا بصورك.
Troppo che caso dia? Troppo de asma.
داير تضربها انت؟
اوكي. صوريني يا جاي.
تعال سيلفا وين ماشي؟ تعال دخلك معنا في الكريمه دي عشان بعدين نقول وانتد. اوكي.
يلا كده نمشي يا اخوانا. تعالى هنا. تعالى جيب هنا. بيت شارع زنقة شكرا جزيلا. تمام. عقيب امسك البتاع يقول انك متحدث. لا يا راجل لا يا راجل.